today I'm going to talk about something that, well, I haven't talked about. I don't think I've ever talked about it on the channel, but it's a very old school gold market. And it's something that, well, I mean, I'm showing it on screen. So you're going to guess we're going to talk about crafted mounts. This is one of the best crafted cosmetic markets. Like, mounts are, in my experience, the cosmetic items that category that sells the best. Like, they, without any any question, mounts is the #1 cosmetic item that people actually care about. And there's quite a few craftable mounts in the game. Most from old expansions, some with hard to get recipes, some are better than others, obviously. But they're definitely worth checking out. And one of the nice things, well, what you're doing with mounts is that they're a fairly slow moving item, relatively speaking. A lot of them are expensive. A lot of the crafted mounts, they will require a lot of vendor materials. You have to buy from vendor that are expensive. So right now we're looking at Vial of the Sands, which requires Sands of Time and Pyrium-laced crystalline vials that you have to buy from the vendor. And they cost, well, I don't remember exactly how much they cost, 24,000 for the Sands of Time. I think it's a little less if you're buying from with the max rep discount. And then 4,500 for the Pyrium-laced crystal vials. So that's 28,000 gold just in vendor materials. That's most of the cost. This is 35,000 or 34,000 gold to craft. So that keeps the value or the price fairly high on a lot of these items, which is why they were really, really good back in the day. But I've looked at a lot of them, and there's still a lot of good items here with very nice profit, like the Vial of the Sands right here. We're looking at 12,000 gold profit, 11,500 gold profit. They sell consistently. And by consistently, I mean, like, you're going to sell one every couple of weeks. So what you want to do is just craft a couple of mounts or whatever recipes you have, and you just throw them on your banker and you post, and then in 2 months time you can spend another half an hour to an hour recrafting all the ones that have sold, and you're good to go again. Very laid back, just a little bit of effort, and then you do the post scans and you get the sales eventually. So we're going to talk about a lot of the recipes that exist. So first off, we have these panthers from Pandaria. They require max level Pandaria jewel crafting. There's 4 basic recipes, and then you have the jeweled onyx panther, which is just one each of the lower panthers. Right now, at least on my realm, this profit margin is fairly low, because to craft this, you have to pay 20,000 gold for a Orb of Mystery that you have to buy in the Veil of Eternal Blossoms. You get the recipe from Jade Forest, from the Windward Isle, from the Order of the Cloud Serpent's reputation. So essentially you have to go here, grind the reputation to Exalted. I think for the Jeweled Onyx Panther, you don't have to grind all the way there, and if you've done it once, then you have the rep boost. It's not super time consuming, but you may have to fly around looking for eggs for a while. So next up we have another Pandaria group of items. I was going to talk about the rocket mount specifically. They require 75 in engineering, and there's one for gnomish engineer specializations, and there's another one for goblin engineer. So the geosynchronous world spinner, this is the gnomish engineering one. As you can see here, it requires 3 of the Orbs of Mystery that are 20,000 gold each from Big Keech in Veil of Eternal Blossoms. So the crafting cost is going to be at least 60,000 gold. Right now they're selling for 72,000 gold in my realm, which means that the profit margin in terms of percentage is not that high. It's something like 15%. But you are looking at something like 7,000 gold maybe after the auction house cut in profit per sale. So that's still well worth it in my opinion. Now obviously if you only have 80,000 gold, then investing all your gold into this item is not particularly smart. But if you already have a decent chunk of gold, this is something you should add to the rotation. Note at the top of the tooltip there, this is a unique item, so it's very annoying to stock many of, because you can only have one in your bags at any one time. So if you're going to have 5 of these, then you want to keep them all on the auction house essentially, and just run back and forth from the mailbox every time you get one. The recipe, you just get the recipe from the trainer as long as you have the required skill and the specialization, so it's very easy. Next up, well, Sky Golems. This bad boy right here. This is an interesting one. It requires 30 each of Jard's Peculiar Energy Source and Living Steel. And this Jarred's Peculiar Energy Source, this is a daily cooldown. It's a material that you can craft. It's BOP, so you can only craft 1 per day. So in 30 days, you'll have enough to craft a mount. And as you can see here, I have a bunch of crafters. I have 6 different characters who can craft this. I've not kept on top of doing my daily cooldowns, but it's very easy. You can set up this on a level 10 character. It can be turned into a Jarred's Peculiar Energy Source crafter. And if you looked at the Sky Golem, we're looking at 9,000 gold profit. So that's about, that's a decent chunk of gold per mount. Essentially, you're looking at maybe 300 gold per daily cooldown. Which isn't a huge amount, but it's consistent, and I mean, that's going to be more profit than crafting a single Dragonflight gem, so definitely something that will help out a little bit. To get the recipe drops with some other stuff. It's like a combined package of the Thunder Isle type of recipes, and you get it all. It drops from any mob in Pandaria, as long as you have engineering. You can just farm any mob. The drop rate is not super high, so you might be fooled. You might be farming for a little while and then get shocked, and then suddenly it's there. Yeah, it's pretty nice. Then we're on to the next engineering thing, essentially. So this is an interesting one. This was added in the Battle for Azeroth. And it's a combined craft. It's this one, the supercharged engine is one half of it. Then you combine that with the monolith reinforced chassis, which is a blacksmithing craft. And once you craft both of them, then you can turn that into the ATV mount, the Xivilag ATV. As you can see, the supercharged engine was apparently selling for 50,000 gold, but the actual mount is just 8,000 gold. This is a nice little mount. The one annoying thing about this is that one of the parts, I don't remember which, requires expulsum, which means that you have to farm expulsum from the scrapper. There's no other way to get this item. You need to be doing the scrapper and getting out expulsum, which is kind of time consuming and annoying. It's this part. It requires 8 each, so that's a good amount of bracers that you need to scrap. If you do it, then this is a mount that sold really fast when I was crafting it. The recipes, both the recipe for the supercharged engine and the monolith reinforced chassis, both of them drop from the Operation Mechagon dungeon. It used to be you had to do it on heroic or higher. Not sure how that is these days, but that should be completely trivial anyway. It drops from Mechagon, and it drops from Cujo. This guy right here is going to drop him. So just get him, and you should be enjoying the recipe. Then there's one last engineering recipe, also from BFA, the Mecha Mogul. I don't have this recipe. I didn't bother because it's very, very annoying to craft, in my personal opinion. And we're talking about, of course, well, that's the wrong zone. We're talking about the Motherlode mount, the Mecha Mogul. So this mount, it drops from the Motherlode dungeon. It's just a random zone drop. And the annoying part about it is it requires a bunch of BOP materials that you can only get from salvaging mobs inside the Motherlode. So if you're going to do this, then you need to farm the Motherlode on your crafter. These days it should be a lot faster than it was back then, but it's still, I'm not a farmer, so I haven't done it. But the mount is usually pretty good. It's selling for 70,000 gold. So you'll definitely get a lot of gold out of it. I'm not sure how much the actual materials you buy cost here. But it's not awful. That's for sure. Then we have the bad boy that I started this show with, the Vial of the Sands, which I had up at the beginning. Currently selling for 45,000 gold on my realm with a 34,000 gold crafting cost. So very nice profit margin here. Almost 33% and 11,000 gold in profit per item. This one is incredibly annoying to farm. The only way to get it is to get these. It drops from these canopic jars, which is one of multiple different solves you can get from doing Tolvir archaeology. Which means that you may need to do Tolvir archaeology sites. to get these canopic jars. But they are few and far between. There's a trick to farming this more efficiently, and to do that, you're going to jump to Pandaria, and you're going to do Lore Walker's rep, and then you can buy an item that makes it so it only spawns manted archaeology zones, because they are all in Town Long Steps and Dread Waste, so they're all pretty close to each other, and most of them are really fast to solve. So then you just go and do these dig sites here over and over and over again, and you turn in all of the artifacts you get to the Lore Workers, and then you get an item that you can then turn in and buy a specific type of fragments, and then you can just buy 12-year fragments, and that's a faster way of getting the 12-year fragments than trying to do Old Doom zones, which is extremely time inefficient, because as you can see, right, there's 0 dig sites available in Old Doom, so I can't get any 12-year fragments. I would have to go solve some of these dig sites, and then a new one would spawn and hope it's an Old Doom one. Yeah, that's not going to be the way to do it. It's a very long grind with a huge amount of RNG, because the drop rate from the canopic jars is fairly low. So just be prepared. If you're going to do this, you might be doing it for a long time. Then I have one last recipe I wanted to talk about, the steel-bound harness. So this one, a little bit on the expensive side. Well, not hyper expensive, 23,000. This is a blacksmithing mount from Legion. The recipe drops from Tichondrius in the Nighthold, so you just have to farm the raid and hope you get it. This mount is generally profitable, and part of that is the necessity to have 50 Bloods of Sergeras. That's one of the materials it requires. And they're a BOP material from Legion. So if you want to do this, craft this item in any meaningful quantity, you need to get Bloods of Sergeras. They can drop from world quests, but the most effective way of getting them is to set up an order hall. Because in your order hall you can turn order resources into Bloods of Sergeras, and you can also get Bloods of Sergeras from the mission table. You want to set up a mission table on whatever character you want to do this on, and then you probably want to check like every day if there are any Blood of Sergeras world quests up, and then you'll do those, and outside of that you'll just do mission table missions for order resources and Bloods of Sergeras, and then eventually you'll be able to craft these semi-regularly. Yeah. So that was a rundown of a lot of these recipes and where you can get them. For selling these, like, you can just do it manually. If you're just doing this, or you'll add them to the group and have a normal 120% crafting operation. If you want to get like the full TSM setup that includes all of these recipes already, then you can just head to my Patreon. Otherwise, I mean, it's not too much work to do it manually these days. But yeah, all of these mounts, most of these are going to be well worth keeping in stock. This is not something that's going to make you rich, but it's going to be something that's going to be part of like a wider attack on the auction house. It's going to give you tons of potential legs to stand on a lot of different items. The more items you have for sale, the larger the chance someone is going to buy one of them. So yeah, that's it. Now make some gold with the mounts.